Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And it has finally started raining. It's been raining all day. It started raining at around 3 a.m. or a little before that. And since then, it's raining and raining. I mean, considering how wet the air was yesterday, it was so literally wet. Like you could taste the water in the air, So, whenever there was a breeze, blowing around us, especially at night it was literally ready to just wring a water out of itself. It was in that state, and I was like, seriously, if it doesn't rain even now, this would be the ultimate beyond helpless situation here. And so finally the clouds were ready to crack open and send us some rain and relieve themselves too in the process. Now, but the thing is, it has been raining quietly, very calmly, very nicely. It's not, your disastrous catastrophe T-storm. No such. It's just rain and rain and rain and rain, which is monsoon. This is monsoon. Thank God. But weirdly enough, now this is why it's so weird. As I said, it's raining, it's calm rain. Yeah, sometimes it gets fast, sometimes it gets a bit slower, sometimes it's, and it stops and then it starts. But as I said, that's so typical. It's monsoon rain finally. But the weird thing that just happened was at about 7:30. I mean, I haven't been able to get any sleep for the past few days. Thank you so much. I've literally been sleeping for 2 hours for like 3 days in a row. And let's mark today as well, because I woke up to a loud bang. Okay, imagine a loud bang. I'm like, oh, did the wiper just suddenly fall off, because of a gust of wind or something? That was the kind of noise it made. Can you imagine? And then, my mom's like, what is that and all? And I checked everything, and it was the breaker. Now, normally the breaker, when it trips, it does it in a very tick manner, right? Just tick. But this made such a loud clang, as if its beak was so long that it literally hit the metallic base of the DP, the display box. And I was like, the fuse box, whatever you like to call it, the breaker box. And I was like, what? And this is how I've been thinking every now and then, and I'm trying to convince myself that maybe this breaker's beak was a bit too long, that it slammed against the metallic base. Why else would it make such a loud noise? But the sound that it made, it was like it worried us all, because as we've got 2 separate solar systems. Okay, and obviously the breaker that trips every time is the breaker that is the grid. I mean, it is the grid breaker, but it is also the breaker that sort of helps connect the solar, obviously both the solars, to the grid. So that means if it's off, the grid is off, which means both the solars, one of them is an on-grid solar, so it completely turns off. The second is a hybrid, the older solar, the first solar system that we had, which has a smaller capacity as well compared to the newer one. That is a hybrid system. It's an AI system. It's a remote whatever, the hi-fi tech sort of a system. And that obviously takes its charge, so when there's grid, it charges its batteries for backup. So this breaker turning off was like, okay, because the new system, the on-grid system, it has sort of disturbed us recently many times, causing the main breaker to trip. And we were like thinking, okay, it's probably done it again, the way it tripped, it sort of made I wanted to turn it back on, because as I said, we've had it tripped many times due to power surges and all, and you turn it back on safely. So this time I was like, okay, should I turn it back on? When the light came, as in, because basically what happened was the light came and then it suddenly went and it caused the trip. Okay, that's what happened. So I was like, okay, light's back. So, as in the grid, Bob does light. I'm like, it's back. So should I just turn it back on? And they were like, my parents were like, no, just leave it down. We need to see, most probably is connected to the system. Because as I said, as you must have heard in my previous podcast, so many times that we have had the breaker trip, it was because of the new system, the new solar system. So we called the electrician who installed the system, and he was like, okay, let it stop raining and I'll send somebody ASAP. Obviously it's not going to stop raining. Where's the guy living at, you know? And then I finally the electrician came, and the one who installed the system, the you know the electrician himself who installed the system, you know, not his supervisor. So he came and he said, he checked it all and all, and he's like, yeah, no, it's fine, it's not that, it's because of the, you know, the power surge that was caused. And imagine, just at that time, right at that time, we have a group, you know, most housing societies, you know, the members of the societies, they tend to have their groups, their chat groups on WhatsApp, so that they can stay in communicado and all. And, you know, then suddenly people who were so quiet for so many hours, in fact, that's also what confused me. You see, when this happened, and light kept coming and going. Light coming and going is fine, but the tripping, as I said, that occurred, that was a bit scary. So it wasn't like irregular tripping. As I said, normally it doesn't trip with a loud bang. So, you know, we thought maybe something happened. So, come to think of it, maybe that bang was probably the on-grid inverter maybe shutting down together with the tripping. Maybe that caused its own bang, and both the tick and the bang just fused together, come to think of it. Do you think it's that? It might be that. After all, that's why we kind of thought that the system was a culprit. Anywho. So nobody in the chat group was talking about light. Nobody was asking for updates. And believe me, they ask for light updates as if they're having chickens. Or should I say as if they're having kittens, but I like to say chickens, okay? Literally, it's like every 2 minutes, update, please. Somebody tell us what's going on. Update, please. Somebody tell, you know, it's like literally, it's diuretic to the point. Sometimes it's to the point of being diuretic. And this time, complete silence, total silence, you know? And as God would have it, you know, this is why I always try to, that's why, you know, sometimes I just say I'm like, there's no bigger sadist than God himself, seriously, because the minute, which is basically 2 hours, okay, 2 hours after the fact, the electrician comes, like literally just came 20 minutes ago, okay, literally. So 20 minutes ago, the electrician comes, and then 20 minutes ago, suddenly the chat gets flooded with people asking for updates about the light, and saying that the light's been gone since 1 a.m. Oh, ours wasn't gone since 1 a.m. to be honest, so I didn't even know about that. So they were like, in the rest of the other blocks, they were like, light's been gone since 1 a.m. and nobody's bothered to tell us what's going on. Can somebody please tell us? Can somebody please give us an update? And I'm like, oh, so now you're all asking for an update? And suddenly, as I said, it became diuretic. Everybody, update please. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah. I'm like, you were dead for 9 hours, really? Yeah, it was 9 o'clock, 9:30 something, and that's when suddenly they were like, okay, you know, it's. And then somebody forwards a voice message from one of the members who said that, you know, when he was walking up for Fajr prayer, the dawn prayer, and when he was walking towards the mosque, then he said that he mentioned which transformer it was in which block, and he's like, he saw sparks, and he said it seemed as if it even caught a little bit of fire. So he's like, he thought maybe that is probably the reason behind it all. And I'm like, seriously, this happened pre-dawn. It means this happened between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're telling me nobody in the management bothered to notify the members that, you know what, please everybody stay calm, there's a light situation here because of so and so situation, we're trying to get back, you know, we're trying to connect with VABDA, we're looking for updates ourselves, we'll tell you as soon as we find out, and blah blah. What does, I mean, seriously, will you die if you notify your members? It is actually your duty, because VABDA always notifies. That's another thing. You know, one of the people that I know, he confirmed it. And he's like, yo, you know what? VABDA always notifies the concerned people in all the housing societies and companies and in whatever it is. I thought it was only K Electric, you know, the Karachi electrical supply company. I thought it was only they who had the minimal professionalism to notify their people of an outage. But then I found out that no, even LESCO, Lahore Electrical Supply Company, that they too inform. Now, it is the unprofessionalism on the part of the people informed that they don't bother to notify others concerned under them, as in their members of their society or the employees of their company or their organizations or whatever. So, wow, that's a first. I mean, seriously, we've always blamed Vabda, I mean, especially Lahore, LESCO, we've always blamed them for being highly, highly unprofessional, for never telling anybody anything of what's going on. Because, to be honest, even if you go on their website, they don't show any alerts. They don't show that you put in your area, you pinpoint your transformer, you pinpoint your grid station, whatever it is, and they will say, oh, everything is in order. See, literally on their website is like no alerts, no alarms, everything's in order. So, that's why we always blame them. We're like, there's nothing even on their freaking website. And then this guy comes and tells me, a friend, who has had a lot of experience with them, he's like, no, they actually do inform. They actually do send notifications to concerned parties. I'm like, wow. I'm like, much rather, shouldn't they just put it on their website so that if these concerned parties don't do their due diligence and tell the other concerned parties, then at least when some of us who actually have the common sense to check the website, at least we get to get some information. He's like, yeah, I don't know why they don't put it on their website, but they definitely do inform. I'm like, okay. The point is, even if they don't inform, it is the duty of the management of the housing societies to at least find out, because it's not like we live in separate worlds. If we're affected by electricity, so are they. And if they're affected, it means that definitely one of them would pick up the phone and ask Vabda, what the frack is going on, right? But they don't bother to tell the rest of us. You see what I'm saying here? So, okay, and so at that point, he flips the breaker back up and he's like, yeah, no, it was basically, I'm like, is this because of Vabda? Did something just short circuit out there? Was there, He's like, yeah, I actually saw it on the way. There's a transformer and it kind of got up on flames or something. I mean, obviously it didn't just burn out or anything. They've got their own safety mechanisms. But the point is that there was a sparking, as a member of our society said, which led to a bit of a fire, so most probably. So then I reached to the conclusion on my own that at between 7 and 7:30, that bang that just happened, that shebang that just happened, the tripping, was probably because they probably tried to fix it, and then when they turned the power on to see if it was okay, it just ended up causing a huge power surge, causing trippings. Probably in most houses, they probably experienced the same, where their breakers tripped, as a safety mechanism to avoid anything in the house being damaged. And then our neighbors, who are very good friends of ours, they had another thing going on, because as I said, at the moment when that bang sounded and woke me up, and as usual, this is now the fourth day I think that I couldn't sleep more than 2 hours, and so I wake up at 7:30 or 7 o'clock or whenever that bang happened, and I start hearing their bell. I can actually, because the doorbell is such that the whole world can hear their doorbell on the outside. And so their doorbell is on the fritz, it's like ringing constantly, incessantly. And I'm like, oh wow, their doorbell's on the fritz because of the rain. And which doesn't make sense generally, because you know what? They've actually covered it on all sides. On the top, on the two sides, and the back, it's completely covered. Like, not a single drop of rain should reach it, and normally it doesn't. No matter how heavy, hard, how stormy the rains have been, it has never touched their doorbell. But here, by some odd quirk of the earth system, the earth as in the world we're living in, of the universe, somehow their bell went on the fritz, which can only be caused by a water droplet seeping into the wire system of the doorbell. That's the only way it can happen. Which and the fun part is that doorbell is not connected to their solar system. No, it's connected to your regular grid, and there's no light. Remember the bang? So there's no light. The grid's offline. And yet their doorbell is ringing. It's screaming blue murder incessantly. Weird, isn't it? Why? Because despite the fact that the current is supposed to be off, the current is actually live, most probably because, again, of water. Weird, isn't it? Very weird science fact, which happens to be true for some odd reason. But anyway, there you are. It's a quirk, as I said, of nature. And and then I called them because I wanted to find out if they also didn't have light, or if it is this something that again happened to us because of our system, the news system, the notorious ill-reputed system of ours, the poor system that has gained ill repute because of the 5-6 breaker trippages that it has caused in the recent past. So, and she was also panicked. My friend was also panicking. She's like, "Our bell's on the fritz." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I can hear it." And she's like, "Tell me how to stop it." I'm like, "Whatever you do, just don't go near the damn thing. Okay? You will end up getting electrocuted. The water's gone in and it's gone bonkers. Don't go near it." I know, because for as long as we have had electrically wired doorbells, we have always gone through it. Always. It would ring and ring and ring and ring like mad. And then, until the thing just dies out on its own, first. And then I was like, whatever you do, just don't go near it, don't touch it, okay? Just it will turn off. And then after that, I asked my mother, and my mother's like, I'm like, what did you used to do do you remember? Because it was years ago. We've stopped using our wired doorbells now for years. Now we use wireless doorbells, and we connected it to the solar, so we're like fine. Mashallah, mashallah, nobody nazar na lagaye. So I'm like, do you remember what we used to do to stop the damn things? And my mother's like, no, I think your dad used to turn it off. He used to turn the connection off. I'm like, really? I don't remember. And then I started to remember, oh yeah, after all, it is an electric doorbell. There is a switch. So then I messaged my friend. I'm like, you know what? If you have a switch connected to your doorbell, just turn it off. It will turn off. And they did it, and it turned off immediately. And then immediately after that, their solar system, which doesn't have, it's like, as I said, our hybrid solar system has batteries for backup, and it goes on for a very long time, mashallah, the backup, the batteries. In that case, that's why it's worth it. Most people opt not to have batteries with their hybrid solar systems or their on-grid solar systems. Why? Because first of all, it's very, very expensive. Second of all, batteries mean maintenance. No batteries means zero maintenance. You don't have to do anything except wash the panels. So most people they stick to their UPS, their regular old UPS. Now, UPS obviously has a very short time limit with which it can run, and it will give out, obviously, unlike the solar backup batteries, which, as I said, as soon as you start, for example, if you have only 2 to 3 hours even left of the batteries, start shutting off the load, as in turn off all the appliances like the fridge and the freezer or whatever that is taking up so much load. And hey presto, you gain 4 more hours, literally. And then slowly it adjusts. As I said, our system is an AI system, so it starts adjusting itself on the load so that it expands even more hours. And sometimes you get up to 12 hours non-stop. So we gained almost 6 hours after turning our appliances off, because I didn't even know when the electrician was going to come. So here you are. And in their case, when they turned off their bell, after some time, I think their UPS gave out. And because it's raining, so their solar is producing next to nothing, I guess. Our solar, actually, to be honest, still produces electricity even when it's raining. It just has to have enough light, it seems, to produce something, So, yeah. But then, yes, even if for a time when the rain continued to this point, our solar also completely stopped producing. And that's why it was taking all its energy, all its production from its batteries, from the backup, which is why I started, load shedding. I started shedding the load to increase time. Yeah, that is also there. Anyway, so obviously solar systems are obviously off. Basically, I mean, the production is off because it's raining, there's no sunlight, so suddenly they were like in darkness, and she was like, I turned the bell off, and my mom's like, no, because the neighbor, the auntie, she called my mom, and she's like, okay, I turned the doorbell off, but now the light's gone. And my mom's like, yeah, the light just came, it like literally just came, because at that point light came, and it stayed for a good 5 to 10 minutes, or maybe half an hour actually, and then it went again, I guess. But at the time, my auntie was freaking out. Actually, there was light, so I don't know why she wasn't getting any light. Maybe she turned the main breaker off. I don't know. I just told her she was just supposed to turn off the switch of the doorbell, not the whole breaker. I don't know what she did. Anyway, so there you are. Now, what I'm trying to say is you can see how people were getting unnecessarily tensed and stressed out. Why? Because nobody knew what was going on. So people's bells are on the fritz, and they're probably, and I'm now beginning to think that my neighbor literally turned the whole breaker off. Or maybe her breaker tripped too, like ours, and she didn't realize it. Yeah. Anyway, so now many people are beginning to get all these panic attacks all over because they don't know. Listen, as I said, it's normal for light to come and go during rain. It's normal for Vapta to turn off the light actually for safety reasons, but that's usually in a storm. But you know what? They do it anyway, anytime. Just get a few centimeters worth of rain and they turn off the electricity. That's the kind of people they are. So this is like a lot of rain. It's coming and going and coming and going. So, yeah, I get that. But what we do not get, what none of us get, is this is a quiet, normal, calm rain. It's your regular monsoonal rain. Why are people's appliances and doorbells and breakers going mad? Why did that transformer spark and almost catch fire? Why are all these damages occurring? This is not the kind of rain in which you suffer damages. We've had storms and we didn't suffer any of this. You see what I'm saying? This is why people, because in that confusion, all these weird ass things that were going on with everybody, and I'm just mentioning mine and my neighbors, but the other neighbors, the other people in the different blocks, what they're going through, you don't even know what of theirs is going on the fritz. As I said, solar systems have shut down, so most of us those who do not have backup systems, they're literally in the dark because the systems shut down, the solar systems shut down. Those of us lucky few who do have backup, we didn't suffer so much, but we suffered in other ways where we had these banging and clangings and trippings and all. So this is what we talk about when we constantly talk about how Islam is all about consideration for other people, how this is what we lack in Pakistan, which claims to be a Muslim society. But to be honest, Pakistan is not at all a Muslim society. We may be Muslims, but we're not a Muslim country. We may be Muslims, but we do not have an Islamic lifestyle, and that's a fact. Like currently the way our government is acting, remember how I said that our army chief will now create the situation and put more situations to his advantage where he can now finally declare himself president. Yeah, he's actually going towards that. Look, and he's also now calling in, according to Dr. Shabazz Gill's vlog, he's now going to be calling in universities, directors and VCs, vice chancellors and professors, and tell them that, if any student talks against me or the military or anything of the sort, we are going to, basically he went Trump on them, or he's planning to go Trump on them. You see, as I said, these people, they always learn all the bad things from the West. The West has borrowed all the good things from us, from the Islamic infrastructure and the Islamic social structure, and we've taken all the bad things from the barbarian white system. And one of those things that we've taken is, okay, let's now call all the universities and threaten that we will close down universities and we will hold the directors, the owners, the vice chancellors, the professors responsible if any student of any university talks against the military or the army. Seriously, do you really want me to use the F word like Trump on you? And by the way, why is everybody going crazy about Trump? And this is also one thing. I'm sorry, but as a person who, I think I do understand my language, where I know that using the F word doesn't necessarily mean that you're abusing the person. If you're using an F word in a sentence, you're just cursing and using expletives and you're swearing in that whole sentence, yes. but you're not abusing that person unless you tell that person, go F yourself, or F you, or up yours. That is a direct abuse. Okay, that is when you're actually abusing or cursing someone. But when you're saying they don't even know what the F they're doing, I don't see how that is abusive to anyone. I mean, in the sense that I don't see him saying, oh, F you don't know what you're doing. That's not what he said. He said, I think they don't even know what the F they're doing. So what you can reprimand him is that as a president, as a figure, as a political figure, as a representative of our country, you shouldn't be using expletives right, left, and center. You should use a more sophisticated language. Get that? Okay, but in Pakistan, as always, when you're a non-native English speaker, then you immediately say, "Oh, he gave naked abuses to people." He didn't abuse anybody. I'm sorry. He just dropped the F bomb in his sentence, but he literally did not abuse anybody. Okay? I don't care who you say you are, but if you have any common sense in the way we structure our sentences, you would know that using the F word does not mean that you're actually abusing somebody. You are using an abusive word in your sentence. You're using an expletive in your sentence. Okay, but you're not abusing somebody directly, for crying out loud. So but yeah, in Pakistan, when they say, oh, and I've noticed that, because you know what, even when and I find this very, very hypocritical, because in Pakistan, in Urdu and in Punjabi, when they use a lot of abusive words when they speak, yeah, they use a lot of expletives when they speak, and that's fine. But the minute you use the F word in English, oh, he abused me, he told me F. He called me F. He told me F you. Seriously? When the frack did that person tell you F you? That person just used the F word in the entire sentence, but not once did he direct it at you. It's just like how you've been using the mofo and the sob in all your Urdu Punjabi sentences, but nobody ever said, oh, he called me a sob. Oh, he called me a mofo. Seriously? So in Urdu and Punjabi, you're not abusing that person. You're just using expletives in your sentences. But if you use an expletive in English forming a sentence, you've suddenly abused somebody. Like, what the frack? You know? And so, my problem with the US media is that I feel that they're just out to get Trump. Listen, I know you have a problem with Trump. The whole world has a problem with Trump. But you need to give the guy his due. No other president has dared to openly, bluntly call Israel out. Tell me, which one of your presidents has ever openly tried to call Israel out the way Trump just did? I would have thought that you would sit back and relax and say, first of all, you were running after Trump saying, oh, he's dragging us into Israel's war. We don't want to be a part of this war. Oh, he's wasting all our tax money on Israel. Oh, the government is doing this. Oh, the government. And now when he suddenly says, we're not going to fight the war, and I don't know what the F these people are doing, even they don't know what the F they're doing. And you know what? I can't be bothered anymore, because Israel didn't even do what it, and he's right. He literally exposed Israel very bluntly, very roughly, using expletives, but he exposed Israel. I thought that is what you guys wanted. Didn't you want him to stand up against Israel and to call Israel out for what it's doing and what it's saying? First you were reprimanding him and berating him for listening to Israel, and now you're reprimanding him and berating him for calling Israel out? What's wrong with you? Now that just shows that you lack professional integrity. You see, again, if the US media had a problem and criticized only that, listen, he shouldn't have dropped the F-bomb, okay, I get that. But you're now constantly berating him for going off on Israel. Seriously, what do you want? Seriously, what the frack? Now here, tell me that I'm abusing you here. What the frack do you want from the man? You didn't want a war, he stopped it. You wanted him to stand up against Israel, he stood up. Now you have a problem with him. You're going to have a problem with him either way, is the way I'm seeing it. Yeah, you're going to have a problem with him either way. Listen, I personally do not give a frack that he used the F word. I seriously do not, okay? The point is, what he said is true. All that he said is true, like it or not, okay? He spoke the truth. He said that Israel did not listen. He was right. He said Israel broke. You see, this is something I questioned. Remember when everybody was like, Iran is still attacking Israel? I'm like, are you serious? Why would Iran attack Israel when Iran accepted the ceasefire clause? Whereas Israel didn't. You know, and he exposed that. He's like, why the frack would Israel decide to send their last minute missiles the minute we decide a ceasefire? And they find out, oh, they have a few hours left to that ceasefire, and they decided to throw their missiles into Iran. He was right. This was a blatant disregard. This was literally like, Israel spitting on everybody, saying, oh, okay, let's be cunning, let's be clever. Our ceasefire starts at so o'clock. We still got time. Let's just throw in the last few missiles that we have and see what happens. We're going to get a hit. Obviously, Iran is going to respond in kind because Israel failed miserably to get that hit. That too is the truth. When Trump said that Israel failed miserably, he's telling the truth. And when he said that Iran, on the other hand, just sent a whole barrage of missiles against Israel and actually were more successful at causing damage, he was also right. It's the truth. If your American media does not like that narrative, then you know what? Go shove it where the sun don't shine. That's all I can say. Because for once, the man was telling the truth. And it's a fact. It's a fact that the whole world, except the Western media, was talking about. It's a fact that BBC and CNN may not want to say it because they're all pro-Zionists and they're scared. But he just told you that he doesn't give a frack. And he was right when he said that they don't even know what the frack they're doing. Because listen, you called for a ceasefire. And when you call for a ceasefire, if anything has already left the scene before that, it's fine. But once you have already decided on the time of ceasefire and then you're like, oh, let's just start throwing missiles until then anyway, that is, yeah, sorry. That is not at all in good faith. That is not you being on the up and up. That is a very underhanded, below the belt sort of a thing that Israel went for. And obviously then Iran would respond in kind. It's a fact. So yeah, I don't know what you people want from him, seriously. As I said, we all have problems because of him, but I don't know because for once he actually did the right thing, okay? He called Israel out, he exposed Israel's lies, and he exposed what Israel did to cause the barrage of missiles from Iran in response. He told you what happened. And then he was right when he said that they don't even know what the frack they're doing. Well, obviously they know what the frack they're doing. But what he was just trying to say is that he's sick and tired of it, And you know what? We all were. We all were sick and tired of it. So, yeah, give the man a break, was all I'm saying. You have a problem with him dropping the F-bomb? Look at how many times you guys drop the F-bombs. Yeah, I know. We have this standard that but remember, right from the start, you all knew that he's not your normal regular person. He's not your normal regular president. In fact, I'm amazed that he hasn't yet dropped enough F-bombs in all of his presidency. In the last term that he served as president, I was so expecting him to drop the F-bomb, to be honest. I was expecting him to just start off his presidency with the F-bomb. But he went smooth sailing, seriously, and now he finally does it. Come on, you know how he is, you know how he speaks. I think it's a miracle he managed to control himself till date. And it doesn't matter, okay? He's human. And you know what kind of a human he is, right? You know what kind of a person he is. You should be expecting these things from him. What, you suddenly hold your presidents to higher standards? Let me tell you, just knowing how to speak doesn't mean that your president is a good person or a good president. Let's be honest. Your presidents have been the worst people that the world can have. They may have been good for you, but they've all been bad for the world. Now, the thing about Trump is, at least he is not waging wars all over the world like your previous presidents were. And he is not killing people senselessly like all your previous presidents have been doing. He didn't throw drones into Pakistan for no reason, just to maintain his presidency, like your precious Obama did, by the way. He didn't. He didn't suddenly bring Osama bin Laden back to life only to kill him again just to secure his presidency. No. But yes, the one thing that he's still doing is working with Israel on the ongoing genocide of Palestine. And you know why? Again, that's because it's your deep state, it's your establishment, it's your CIA that's behind it all. Okay, remember, your presidents are essentially puppets too. Your presidents are not leaders of the free world. How can you be leaders of the free world when you yourself are not part of the free world? You need to first get that in your minds, good and proper. We know where we stand. The problem is you people don't. You need to know where you stand. You need to know what exactly is your status. You're not the free world either, you know. Well, white supremacy is Zionism. It was Nazism, now it's Zionism, but at the end of the day, it's still white supremacy. Don't try to even, remove yourselves from that. That is what I'm trying to say. You think that you're better than the Jews because, no, as I said before, it's not them who are ruling you. It is the American establishment and the British establishment, the French, even the Germans for a short while. They all bandaged together to create Israel for a purpose. They sent those European Jewish settlers there. It was a political move. It still is a political move, okay, to maintain control over the Middle East. It is an ongoing strategy, okay? So don't try to separate yourselves and pretend to be victims of Israel's monopoly or monopolizing or lobbying. No, no, no. Because you see, as I said, you created this monster and now you have to feed it. And the thing is that you people don't know anything about anything. Your governments have, never ever told you the truth. They've been brainwashing you for so long, giving you these narratives about the whole world, and they've isolated you from the rest of the world. Actually, Iran isn't isolated, as I've said before. Russia isn't isolated. None of the countries that you think you've sanctioned, North Korea, no, they're not isolated. You are. Europe and America, you are isolated. That genocide, that pattern of white supremacy that you have been repeating throughout your colonization days in Australia, in Canada, and America, that is exactly what you did in Palestine and still are doing. You are equally responsible. Don't try to say you're not responsible. You are responsible. Okay? You made this. And you can't say you have nothing to do with it. You have everything to do with it. And yes, you are responsible for it. And that is why you're responsible for Israel. Okay? Get your facts clear. Anyway, this is basically all it is today, because we're now looking at how lack of consideration, why the importance of consideration is key to being a good Muslim, which is key to being a good human being. I should put it the other way around, which is key to being a good human being, which is key to being a good Muslim. Forget everything else. If you just start being a little considerate towards everybody on every level, half the battle is won. In fact, 90% of the humanity is there. 90% of that humanitarian concept is in your hands, And it is the lack of consideration that causes these unnecessary tensions, these panic attacks in people. It causes this is why we call people unprofessional, unethical, incompetent. These are all different ways of saying that these people have been inconsiderate. There are duties and responsibilities towards each other that we have, and we need to show due consideration to each other in order to maintain a good, healthy, all-round lifestyle as well. Because, for example, if I'm not going to be considerate towards you, and if I'll be dumping trash in front of your house, and be damned, it's your problem, not mine. Or if I am not even bothering to tell you that something here, there's an accident there in so and so place, be careful, don't go through there, save yourself some time. When I'm actively hiding information that is pertinent to another person, And similarly, when I am all about myself and I'm being a narcissist, it means I'm being inconsiderate towards the rest of the humanity, which is why I'm waging wars, because I want to sell my weapons and I want to sell my drugs so that I can, keep a lot of money in my treasury so that I can run my government the way I want it to, and or basically so that I can feed the pigs behind me, the elitist pigs, who are getting richer and richer by the day, because and they want to eventually control and own the world. I mean, these are all different ways of showing lack of consideration. It starts with something very small and it can go so big, but at the end it boils down to us being selfish, right? What is being selfish? Not considering others. And when we stop considering others, this is when disasters begin, from smaller scales to larger scales. That's all I'm saying. Well, this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.